Welcome to WorldWire. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In global trade, some arteries are more vital than others. The China-Europe Railway Express was one such artery, a modern Silk Road, moving billions in goods between China and Europe. On September 11, 2025, that artery was abruptly severed. Poland, a key gateway, closed its border with Belarus, halting the railway overnight. Over 130 freight trains carrying everything from smartphones to car parts were stranded in Belarus, unable to enter the EU. The Małaszewicze-Brest rail hub, which handled 90% of China-EU rail cargo, fell silent. This was not a minor disruption, it was an economic blockade, exposing how quickly geopolitics can freeze global commerce. For businesses relying on the railway's speed, the closure was catastrophic. E-commerce giants and manufacturers faced broken supply chains and mounting losses. The initial disbelief quickly turned to panic. Freight forwarders scrambled for answers, but none were forthcoming. Warsaw cited only national security. Beijing demanded explanations. In logistics hubs from Duisburg to Chongqing, crisis set in. The great iron artery of Eurasian trade was clogged, and no one knew when, or if, the flow would resume. The world was reminded just how fragile our interconnected systems really are. The trains had stopped, and with them, the illusion of seamless global trade. Poland framed its decision as national defense, not economic aggression. The trigger, Zapad 2025, Russian-Belarusian military drills simulating a nuclear strike on NATO. Years of tension had built up, drone incursions, hybrid warfare, and memories of the 2021 migrant crisis. For Poland, closing the railway was a necessary act to secure its border against persistent threats. The European Commission backed Poland, framing the move as defense of the EU's eastern flank. Security now trumped commerce. Poland drew a red line. National security was not for sale, no matter the cost. The China-Europe Railway, once a symbol of economic cooperation, now ran through a zone of active hostility. By shutting down Małaszewicze, Poland sent a message to Moscow, Minsk, and Beijing. Economic ties can't shield you from the consequences of military actions. The border closure was a powerful geopolitical statement. Security first, trade second. The closure triggered a logistical crisis. With 90% of China-EU rail freight blocked, shipping costs soared and businesses scrambled for alternatives. E-commerce giants like Shein and Temu, built on fast rail delivery, saw their supply chains collapse. Warehouses emptied, orders delayed, and the promise of rapid delivery evaporated. High-value industries, electronics, machinery, green tech were hit hard. Just-in-time manufacturing ground to a halt. The ripple effects were immediate. A delayed battery in Poland meant stalled car production in Germany. Missing components in France halted gadget assembly. The China-Europe Railway moved over $25 billion in goods in 2024, just 4% of EU-China trade, but concentrated in critical sectors. The disruption revealed how a single political decision could trigger chaos across a continent. Businesses learned the hard way, speed and efficiency are nothing without resilience. The closure was a stark lesson in the fragility of global supply chains. One border, one decision, continent-wide consequences. China's response was urgent and improvisational. The border closure struck at the heart of its Belt and Road Initiative, a flagship project now paralyzed. Beijing demanded the border reopen, but Poland stood firm. Security over trade. China faced a dilemma. Its partnership with Russia was now undermining its economic interests in Europe. With the main route blocked, China scrambled for alternatives. Rerouting through Russia and Finland was longer and riskier. The middle corridor, through Kazakhstan, the Caspian Sea, the Caucasus, and into Europe, offered a way around the crisis, but it was slow, complex, and underdeveloped. Multiple borders, 2 sea crossings, and patchwork infrastructure made it a costly detour. The crisis forced China and its partners to invest in new routes, redrawing the map of Eurasian trade. The scramble wasn't just about moving stranded containers, it was about future-proofing against geopolitical shocks. The Polish shutdown was a catalyst for change, but the solutions would be neither easy nor cheap. The search for new paths had begun, but the road ahead was uncertain. For Poland, closing the border was a calculated risk. The Małaszewicze hub was a vital economic engine, generating hundreds of millions in customs revenue. The shutdown punched a hole in the national budget and hit local businesses hard. logistics firms, rail operators, and warehouses all suffered. The government promised compensation, but aid couldn't replace lost business or erase uncertainty. After 2 tense weeks, the border reopened, but with a warning: further provocations would mean more closures. Poland had asserted its security interests, but at a steep economic price. The episode exposed the fragility of prosperity built on global trade routes. Poland's section of the China-Europe Railway was now seen as an unreliable link. The country faced a hard truth: security comes at a cost, and the future of its role in Eurasian trade was now in question. The crisis was a wake-up call for Beijing. The Belt and Road Initiative, meant to foster stability through trade, was undone by political conflict. China's deepening partnership with Russia clashed with its economic ambitions in Europe. The railway became collateral damage in a confrontation it didn't control. The closure forced China to rethink its reliance on a single corridor through Russia and Belarus, a critical vulnerability. The middle corridor, once a backup, became a strategic imperative, despite its own risks and complexities. China even considered Arctic routes, but these remain distant prospects. The incident signaled a fragmentation of Eurasia, challenging the dream of seamless trade from Shanghai to Lisbon. Trade routes are not just economic assets, they're instruments of power, vulnerable to political decisions. Infrastructure alone isn't enough. Without trust and shared security, even the best railways can be rendered useless overnight. The Polish border crisis exposed the cracks in China's global vision. The 2-week shutdown of the China-Europe Railway was a lesson in the new realities of global trade. It showed that supply chains are deeply entangled with geopolitics. Borders can close overnight, not for technical reasons, but for political ones. The era of hyper-globalization, where economics trumped politics, is fading. Governments are now willing to weaponize their position in global networks to achieve security goals, even at great economic cost. For China, the crisis revealed the limits of economic power. Diplomacy failed when security was at stake. The incident forces a reckoning. Strategic choices have direct consequences for economic ambitions. The future of trade will be shaped by resilience, redundancy, and the realities of national interest. The trains are running again, but the world knows the tracks run through uncertain territory.